Hello and welcome to my video today. This is a follow-up to a video I did a few weeks ago regarding the chiller pipe that is next to the front motor. What I showed is how to repair the pipe if there is any damage. In today's video, I'm going to be covering how to prevent future damage to that chiller pipe by removing the tab that is close to it. So let's get started. So here are the tools and things that we're going to be using for this project today. I have an oscillating saw. This one is from Harbor Freight. Make sure it has a metal bit at the end, straight for cutting. This one worked pretty well. I also found it useful to have a trim removal tool for taking off the zip tie mounts that are holding that wiring harness in place. I also found it useful to have a set of needle nose pliers to remove that zip tie mount from the base. And for the zip tie that's holding the wiring harness near the tab that we're removing, I have a pair of clippers for that. So you can use this or a pair of scissors to remove that zip tie. Also during the process, I found having some tape to hold that tab in place while you're cutting it comes in handy. And also don't forget safety. Always wear protective glasses and work gloves when you're working on a project like this where you're cutting metal. Lastly, I found it handy to have some grocery bags to use to capture any of the metal filings that come off when you're cutting with the blade, or shop towels, anything like that you could use to place underneath that area that we're working in. The first thing I need to do is remove the service lid so that I can remove the two bolts that hold the hood in place. Open the hood and we'll have access to the inside. So with the hood open, we have the 12-volt battery over in this area. Where we're looking at is back here. And you can see the repair I did on the chiller pipe. And can actually see where there's additional wear just in a few weeks. So we need to remove the tab that's underneath this area here. So this wiring harness needs to be removed. We're going to pop out those zip ties and access that, and I'll show you what it looks like. The tab that's connected to this wire harness is the one that we need to remove. So we're going to take both of these zip ties off. They're kind of like a fir tree mount to the tab below it. So in order to access this one, we must take both of these off. You could use something like a trim removal tool to try to pop this up. There's a little piece underneath that sticks up, so I'm going to see if I can press that out. All right, so I managed to pry it off with some pliers. So here you can see it is now loose. Going to do the same thing for the other side. All right, so now we have both of these loose, and as you can tell here, this is the tab we're going to remove. I'm going to move this cable out of the way. So here you can see I tucked some grocery bags underneath the tab, so if there's any extra metal shavings that come off when I'm cutting it, they will be captured by the bags. A couple different options. We can cut the entire tab off at the base here, but I think that may be tougher to do to the angle of this. So I am going to trim it right around where the hole is so that it saves some cutting time. So I'm gonna do the edge of it right around there. Well, I'm letting my blade cool down a little bit. In the meantime, I put some tape on here. Since this side is already cut, I don't want this thing going flying inside once it's cut off on the other end. So I'm gonna put some tape on here. Hopefully that helps keep it in position so when this final part gets cut through, I can just peel the whole thing off. Gonna pull all of this out. So here is the tab that was cut off. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. So once this is removed, you'll have plenty of clearance between the motor mount and that chiller pipe. If you want to be extra careful, you could file down the edges of the corner here or put something over it to cut down on the sharp edge. So as you can see, there's a huge amount of space now between this area here and the pipe. So the most important thing to do in this process is to make sure nothing is in the way when you're cutting that tab off. So make sure that that wiring harness is way out of the way here. And there's nothing else below here, so nothing else to be careful about. But when I held the oscillating saw, I had it so that my hand was on the top of this so that when it did that final cut through the metal, my hand hit this and it didn't go any further. So just to be careful with that. And also make sure you have some sort of rag or bag to hold any of the metal shavings or the actual tab itself. It may go flying during the cutting process. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to slide the harness back and put it in to that opening there so that fir tree mount can go back in. Since this side has plenty of support from all the way over here to over there. So this one I don't think is necessary at all at this point. I'm going to use a pair of cutting pliers here and just snip this off. Just make sure you're not getting any of the actual cable there. So here's a final look at the area now. We have the wiring harness back in place. No additional issues for the future. I suggest that all owners do this to their Fisker Ocean as a preventative measure against any damage on that chiller pipe. It's just a matter of time before that pipe will break due to the rubbing. So that about wraps up the video for today. If you want to see the previous video, I have that linked at the end of the video, so you can check that out. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.